can change the world with my own two hands. Make it a better place with my own two hands. Make it a kinder place with my own two hands. With my own two hands. I can make peace on earth with my own two hands. I can clean up the earth with my own two hands. I can reach out to you with my own two hands. With my own two hands. With my own two hands. Gonna make it a brighter place with my own two hands. Gonna make it a safer place with my own two hands. Gonna help the human race with my own two hands. With my own two hands. With my own two hands. I can hold you with my own two hands. I can comfort you with my own two hands. But you got to use your own two hands. Use your own two hands. Use your own two hands. With our own two hands. With our own two hands. With our own two hands. Have you ever seen the sky so beautiful, colorful, wide and wonderful? Have you ever felt the sunshine so brilliantly raining down over you and me? Have you ever wanted more? Wanted more? You've got to keep your mind wide open, all the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open, believe in what you see. Think of all the days you've wasted, worrying, wondering, hopelessly hoping. Think of all the time ahead. Don't hesitate, contemplate. No, it's not too late. Have you ever wanted more? Don't you know there's so much more? You've got to keep your mind wide open, all the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open, believe in what you see. to keep your mind wide open. All the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open. Believe in what you see. You've got to keep your mind wide open. All the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open. Believe in what you see. Your mind wide open. Believe in what you see. Your eyes open. Believe in what you see.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate, greed, and jealousy. We are working to be free.
We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need.
Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building. We're building a new way. Yeah, I heard it. We're building us a new way. Yeah, I heard it on the front line. That we're building us a new way.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. 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 Ooh, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Yeah, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Good morning. Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. My name is Donald Milton III, the Director of Music. So glad to be back with Reverend Strauss here creating worship for you. I've been off for 2 weeks, which has been lovely. A big thanks to Jeep and Sonia Tinsley Hook, who filled in 2 weeks ago, and to Christine Strain and John Frangione for filling in last week. Reverend Strauss and I share an opinion that we want worship to be really excellent when we are away, and they really brought it. So very, very grateful to all of our guests this summer. Our first hymn this morning is number 1000. The first song in the Teal hymnal, Morning Is Come. It's a whole lot of big singing, so rise in body or in spirit if you want. Breathe deep. Morning has come, I'll rise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Oh, new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. We are so glad you are here with us this morning. The light of hope shines on your faces too. We see you, if you feel you in the room with us. This is the best place to watch worship anywhere in the whole world all the time.
It definitely is. I've watched a lot of worship this last month, and this is the best in the world anywhere. It is so wonderful to be with you, to be in worship service with you once again. It is awesome to see the gorgeous faces of Jeep, George, Michael, Don, and Bryce. And I have to be honest, returning to this space without you is somehow even harder in this moment. I miss you. It's hard to come back in this morning and know that I wouldn't get the chance to see all of you here filing in, your smiling faces, ready for anything that Don and I are going to throw out there. But I am so glad that you are with us, and I feel your presence across the distance. And I'm just happy to return refreshed, so grateful to everyone who preached in my stead, who stood up here and shared the musings of their hearts and spirits with you. Thank you so much to all of our fabulous guest preachers, to Tony, to Mel, to LB, to Megan. So grateful. And of course, oh yeah, Duncan. I watched that sermon in real time. That was awesome. So welcome to you. Welcome to Sunday morning worship with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. Wherever you are from, whomever you love, you are welcome to worship with us here. UUCA's capital campaign is to raise funds that are needed to renovate our new building and grounds of our future home on North Druid Hills Road. This capital campaign will begin very soon, just a few short weeks. Focus group discussions via Zoom will begin this Tuesday. Each member of our community will be able to provide their thoughts on the best approach to improving our present and our future ministries' impact. Please come, ask questions, come to these focus groups, give your feedback. These gatherings are not going to be for the solicitation of financial support, but rather they're a place to exchange ideas and engage everyone in the next stage of UUCA's future. Please visit uuca.org/register to sign up for the date and the time that works best for you. Please also join your board of trustees in raising money for BLUE, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. Your board of trustees is selling UUCA Black Lives Matter signs for your lawn or home. The minimum donation is $10, and all proceeds will go to Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. Please email signs, signs at uca.org. Cool, we have an email address for that, for more information. Okay, this is really sweet. I'm so excited about all of the innovation going on in our religious education department during this virtual church time, virtual congregation. For 3rd and 12th graders, atención. We are having auditions, you all, this Thursday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. for, get this, a virtual reading of The Owl and the Pussycat, a play that is about environmental awareness and environmental stewardship based on the Edward Lear poem of the same name. This is so cool. UUCA member Liz Bigler will be directing. this virtual staged reading. Rehearsal will continue on Thursday evenings throughout August with a live virtual performance for all of us to attend on Thursday, September 3rd. If your child is interested and available, please RSVP by this coming Wednesday, August 5th, to Laura Beth Brown to receive pertinent information and to receive the Zoom login for the audition. This is just really innovative. I'm so excited about this. And of course, I'm super excited also to invite you to our Zoom Room social hour after the worship service. This will take place immediately after worship, and if you have not already, please sign up to get an invitation to our Zoom Room social hour by following the link in your weekly update or the link provided by the live stream chat right about now, I think. Through this live chat, we can express love, care, and welcome to one another. Please take a moment now to welcome each other and to welcome anyone out there in the world who may be visiting us for the first time into this morning's worship now. Once again, we are so glad you have chosen to worship with us this morning. So now, won't you please join me in lighting your chalice at home? I know you've got one. As we say our chalice lighting words together that are on your screen. May the light of this flame illuminate our tradition of seeking. Invite all who yearn for acceptance and ignite our passion for justice and peace.
A little twinge, a little shock, a little whisper at the bottom of your memory. A sudden wind, a gentle knock, and then a rustle in the leaves. You hold your breath, you check the lock, you reassure yourself that nothing's at the window. But you're wondering, You're wondering what that was. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen. You turn a key, you flip a switch, you settle back into the blissful unfamiliar. Close your eyes, but there's an itch, a little hurt. Your heart retrieves. But you ignore the tiny twitch, pretend the feeling will be gone before the morning. But you're wondering, you're wondering where you are. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen. But wouldn't it be fine to share the weather in her eyes, her hair, her footsteps as she climbs the stair, the shadow in her light? But everything you know is true, and everything you wanna do, and everything that makes you collides against the night. And nothing's black and white. gonna happen. Nothing has to happen.
Like me, you have really been missing hugs. You know, this movement prayer we do together each week does so many things. We're not even always aware of them. One of the things that this movement prayer invites us to do is to hug ourselves. And when we do this, we can imagine all the hugs we would be receiving from one another. We can imagine being encircled by the loving embrace of our community. Perhaps you imagine the loving embrace of Spirit, or that which some people call God. Whatever it is, I invite you now to join us, to rise in body or in spirit, and join us for our weekly movement prayer, which this week will be led by Liebs Liebman and Mark Honeycutt.
First, we bow to honor the Spirit of life. We lift our arms and embrace the gifts of Spirit. We bring these gifts unto ourselves with gratitude and breathe and smile. We share these gifts with the world. We remember to be present. Honor, embrace, gratitude, share, be present.
Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are freed. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be.
Let us put hands upon hearts. Feel the warm connection. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love will heal the world. At this time, we hear the joys and sorrows of this congregation. Please hold Susan Leffler in your heart, in your thoughts. Susan has been sick with an unidentified illness over the past 2 weeks. She is recuperating at home. Susan welcomes your cards, your emails, and phone calls of support. We send our love to Laura, Yamashita, and David. Surrounded by loving family, Laura's father passed away on July 30th from COVID-19. He will be deeply missed by so many. Cards and emails of sympathy are welcome. Feel free to send them to the Yamashita family. We share in the joy of former UUCA member Sophia Taylor, who is now engaged to wed her partner of several years, Jonathan Dresner. More details to follow on that happy news. You are invited now to say the names of people you are holding in your heart this morning, people who could use a little extra loving energy, healing energy coming their way. I invite you to write their names into the live chat so we may all hold them in prayer, or simply speak their names into this holy moment now. As humans have gathered for millennia, so we gather in our way on this day to gently surrender to something beyond ourselves, to humbly acknowledge our mistakes, to ask forgiveness, to seek hope and renewal, to honor the earth that supports and sustains life, to remember that all beings are inextricably and mysteriously connected, and to feel that connection. So now we still our bodies, we still our minds, we all take in a sacred, precious breath. We exhale. We relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter together into the wise silence.
Find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are freed. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be.
This morning's reading comes from the poet Jameson Fitzpatrick. I woke up, and it was political. I made coffee, and the coffee was political. I took a shower, and the water was. I walked down the street in short shorts and a Bob Miser tank top, and they were political. The walking and the shorts and the beefcake silk screen of the man posing in a G-string. I forgot my sunglasses, and later on the train, that was political, when I studied every handsome man in the car. Who I thought was handsome was political. I went to work at the university, and everything was very obviously political, the department and the institution. All the cigarettes I smoked between classes were political, where I threw them when I was through. I was blonde, and it was political. So was the difference between blonde and blonde with an E. I had long hair, and it was political. I shaved my head, and it was. That I didn't know how to grieve when another person was killed in America was political. And it was political when America killed another person. Who they were and what color and gender and who I am in relation. I couldn't think about it for too long without feeling a helplessness like childhood. I was a child, and it was political, being a boy who was bad at it. I couldn't catch, and so the ball became political. My mother read to me almost every night, and the conditions that enabled her to do so were political. That my father's money was new was political, that it was proving something. Someone called me queer, and it was political. I called myself queer, and it was political. How difficult my life felt relative to how difficult it was political. I thought I could become a writer, and it was political that I could imagine it. I thought I was not a political poet, and still my imagination was political. It had been this whole time I was asleep. So ends this morning's reading. This week, America honored a civil rights icon as we honored the incredible service of our representative, John Lewis. Voting for John Lewis was always one of my favorite things about living here in Atlanta, yet I felt blessed by the chance this week to lift up his life and his works. And his funeral reminded me of another civil rights icon so long ago, our spiritual ancestor, Reverend James Reeb. Many of you know Reverend Reeb's story because his family came to UUCA at the 50th anniversary of Selma, and C.T. Vivian spoke to this congregation and to Reeb's family, told the story of how in the early 1960s, Reverend James Reeb was a white Unitarian Universalist minister working at the time with poor people in Boston. And although he was married and had 4 young children, he answered the call of Dr. Martin Luther King for clergy across the country to come to Selma, Alabama to protest violence by state troopers against the civil rights marchers there. And on March 9th, 1965, Reeb and 2 other Unitarian Universalist ministers, Reverend Orloff Miller and my dear friend, Reverend Clark Olson, the 3 of them were walking back after a dinner to a meeting led by Dr. King when they were attacked by a group of white men. One of them hit Reverend Reeb in the head with a club. The blow was fatal, and Reverend Reeb died on March 11th, 1965. And although Jimmy Lee Jackson, an African-American hospital worker, had been killed in the civil rights struggle walking over the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma 2 weeks earlier, it was the white Reverend Reeb's murder that drew national and political attention. And it is Reeb's murder that is credited with helping to hasten passage of the Federal Voting Rights Act. Now, Reverend Clark Olson, who retired to Asheville while I lived there and served at that congregation, Clark used to take UUs, especially children, all around the Southeast for a Southern Unitarian Universalist Heritage Tour. He would teach them all about this fateful night and how he had remembered it and his time coming down to Selma. And I can't help but wonder who will lead the future UU Civil Rights Tours. What will they say about us here in Atlanta and our justice work today? I do not wish for any of us to be in danger. But I will say this is a similar moment to that spring of 1965. Today we find ourselves in need of a new Voting Rights Act. We need a new Racial Justice Act. We need new healthcare legislation that will address the savage racial inequalities of this pandemic. To quote Lin-Manuel Miranda, history has its eyes on us now. And you can take the picture down now, George. Thank you. What I'm saying is you are called to this time and place of action. All of us, each of us are called. And some of us will go and march. Some of us will write letters, make phone calls to our legislators. We all will vote. Did you hear me? I said we all will vote. And we will all give. We will give our time. We will give our treasure to communities that matter, to communities that inspire us, that hold a vision of deeper, authentic unity, of reconciliation. So we will give our treasure and give of ourselves, and we will share until it feels right. Because Reverend James Reeb is our spiritual ancestor. And this is our moment to fulfill that legacy. We are, each of us, a part of his legacy as Unitarian Universalists. And if we do not keep our commitment, if we do not continue to sacrifice in the name of equity, justice, and the inherent worth and dignity of each person, then who will? Who will? It's got to be us, right now. So head on over to uuca.org/give for all of the ways you can support our community. And before I say the last words of this statement, I guess I just want to say that I'm really excited about this next song. And I'm just going to be fangirling out there, just like all of you. And I'm just so grateful to be so close to such a talented leader, community leader. So thank you, Don. This morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Theodosia writes me a letter every day. I'm keeping her bed warm while her husband is away. He's on the British side in Georgia. He's trying to keep the colonies in line. Well, he can keep all of Georgia. Theodosia, she's mine. Love doesn't discriminate between Between the sinners and the saints, it takes and it takes and it takes, and we keep loving anyway. We laugh and we cry and we break and we make our mistakes. And if there's a reason I'm by her side when so many have tried, then I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it. My grandfather was a fire and brimstone preacher. But there are things that the homilies and hymns won't teach us. My mother was a genius. My father commanded respect. When they died, they left no instructions, just a legacy to protect. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes, and we keep living anyway. We rise and we fall and we break and we make our mistakes. And if there's a reason I'm still alive, when everyone who loves me has died, then I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it. Wait for it. I am the one thing in life I can control. I am inimitable, I am unoriginal. I am not falling behind or running late. I am not standing still, I am lying in wait. Hamilton faces an endless uphill climb. He has something to prove, he has nothing to lose. Hamilton's pace is relentless, he wastes no time. What is it like in his shoes? Hamilton doesn't hesitate. He exhibits no restraint. He takes and he takes and he takes, and he keeps winning anyway. He changes the game, he plays and he raises the stakes. And if there's a reason he seems to thrive when so few survive, then damn it, I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it. Life doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes. We rise and we fall. And if there's a reason I'm still alive when so many have died, then I'm willing to wait for it. Wait for it.
Wish You Were Here does not begin to cover it. But it is a blessing of our lives to have so much talent in our community. So much talent out there, all of you dreaming new ways to show up to this moment for each other. And for this legacy that James Reeb has left to us. Yeah, this is our time. Our time has come to act on our faith in big and bold ways. This is our moment this summer of 2020 when we are deep in the shadow of pandemic, of an administration that is growing in fascism, chaos, and fear. This is our moment to live our faith like never before. Blessings on your gifts, all your gifts, and this gift that helps all of us thrive, that brings compassion and justice to more and more people throughout Atlanta, staking our place in the history of this community. Blessings on this gift. Please join me now in saying the words of our offertory. Dedication is what I'm trying to say. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community. We dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. I need to get my heart rate down for a second. I just really love that song. That was an awesome performance. Thank you. That's like the song of my summer. So that was really special. So I wonder what you were doing in the year 1993. My friend Reverend Jim Keats reminded me about this year 1993. In 1993, I was 14 years old, watching Schindler's List, playing varsity soccer in high school. It was the year Octavia Butler published her great science fiction novel that I just got around to reading this past July, Parable of the Sower. It was also the year another particular book swept the globe, spending 71 weeks on the New York Times bestsellers list. It was a book without words. It was called The Magic Eye. In fact, it was more than one book. It became a series of books, a phenomenon of autostereograms, which allows some people to see 3D images by focusing their eyes in a new way. You can relax your vision on a two-dimensional pattern that eventually reveals a third-dimensional picture within it. The viewer must diverge their eyes in order to see the hidden 3D image within. And this morning, before worship began, we were having a discussion about which way the eyes must diverge. But the point is, your eyes must diverge. As a teenager, I spent hours staring at these images until I became skilled at finding that hidden picture within. I had a poster up in my room. It was one of those brief teen obsessions like TikTok or Roblox today. The thing about the magic eye, though, is that once you have found the image, it becomes very difficult to explain it to someone else, to help them find it. They just have to wait for it. Each person has to find the image in their own time, in their own way. Let's try it now together. Now you look for a while, and then this growing feeling, this feeling starts to grow. What is it? Anger, frustration, humiliation, resentment. Why am I not getting it? Why am I not seeing it? Who else sees this thing that I cannot see? Frustrating. I didn't think much about the magic eye until 25 years later, when UUCA's own Amelia Shenstone said something to me. She was hanging out in my office doorway. She said something, she said offhandedly, she said, institutional racism and white supremacy in our culture is like the magic eye. You can live for so long without ever seeing it. But once you've seen it, you cannot unsee it. You know, Amelia may not even remember sharing that castaway observation with me, but I have never forgotten it because it was so true. Institutional racism and white supremacy in our culture, it's like the magic eye. Once you have seen it, you cannot unsee it. And it is difficult to help someone else to see it. Amelia's reflection brought back a memory from when I was an AIDS educator in Western North Carolina years ago. I served on a panel of speakers about faith and transgender awareness at the University of North Carolina at Asheville. And it was there I met Reverend Mahan Seiler, who has one of my favorite names, Mahan Seiler. He's an elderly white Southern Baptist minister who served a large congregation in Raleigh for many years and had retired to Asheville. He served on this panel of speakers, most of us queer in some way or younger, transgender, but here he was, this older, white Southern Baptist preacher gentleman, and his crystal blue eyes sparkled as he rose from his chair on the panel and said in a slow Southern drawl that I won't try to emulate, he said, "I was raised in a conservative Southern family, and I became a Southern Baptist minister. But for me, the first horse out of the barn was feminism. The second horse out of the barn was racism and white supremacy. And the third horse out of the barn was the plight of gays, lesbians, bisexual, queer, and transgender folks." Mahan Seiler said, his family, his friends, and all the people that he has known in his life shared their experiences with him, their experiences of struggle, of violence, of aggression, lack of opportunity. They shared all of that with me, he said. And each time they shared that with me, I had the humiliating realization that all the privilege I ever had from being male, white, heterosexual, cisgender, it was undeserved. I was ashamed when I realized the ease my whiteness, my maleness, and my heterosexuality afforded me. And I vowed to spend my life and my ministry working for equity and justice in every way I possibly could. Now, on this panel, it was one thing to hear me, Yankee, sort of half-Jewish daughter of socialists, say something like this, but it was quite another for rural North Carolinians to hear an older, educated, white, straight Southern Baptist preacher share his journey of transformation and mention stopping at humiliation and shame along the way towards deeper learning. Which brings me to the true inspiration for this sermon. It was a sign I saw at a Black Lives Matter protest earlier this summer. Now, I don't know if you can see the sign this gentleman is holding, but it reads, "I'm sorry I was late. I had a lot of learning to do." The humility in this statement is beautiful, and it is powerful. We don't always know what we don't know. Thank you, George. White supremacy is insidious in that way. In America, it is the water we swim in, and if we benefit from it, we cannot always see that three-dimensional image of oppression that is woven through every single facet of American life. The question I have for you, when we become aware of the water we are swimming in, how do we help others to breathe? How do we help others to see what we also see? One answer, I think, is a release of ego, a return to a new understanding of the self as love, as beloved. And this is deep soul work. This is more than can be taught in one sermon. This is more than you can learn in one moment. The monk and the mystic Thomas Merton wrote, "To say we are made in the image of God is to say that love is the reason for my existence. Being love is my true identity. Being love is my true identity," he said. That soul work of transformation, it's waking up to and falling into this love, capital L, love. It's unsettling, joyful, resilient. This awareness of ourselves with love at the core, it's a different foundation, a foundation from which we can interrogate and change the lies we tell ourselves about earning our worth. From this deeper center, we find both the freedom to release earlier binding attachments to unearned privilege and the freedom to risk extravagant self-giving. The freedom to release and the freedom to risk. This transformation occurs always in relationship. This again from Reverend Mahan Seiler. We are a part of an interconnected web, an entangled universe, as quantum physicists name it. We live and we move in mutual relationships with spirit, with nature, and with one another. Relationships provide that context of transformation. To be is to be with. Now, this shift to our primary identity changes the way we carry ourselves in the world. Here are a few examples of what Mahan Seiler means and what I mean. You have a vocation, but you are not primarily your vocation. At the core, you are love. You have a personality, but you are not primarily your personality. At the core, you are love. You have weaknesses and you have failures, but you are not primarily your weaknesses and failures. At the core, you are love. You have racism. You have other oppressions as a wound to be healed, but you are not primarily a racist. At the core, you are love. You have successful achievements, but you are not primarily your accomplishments. At the core, you are love. Let us take my racism as an illustration. If my identity is primarily Taryn, that is my ego, my personality, my gifts and abilities, my failures, and someone calls me a racist or points out my racism, well, I may be defensive and unable to hear the full truth, which would be a gift. But if I am grounded in my true core identity as love and beloved, then I am free to acknowledge the truth of my racism. And from that inner grace, I call it an inner grace, I am more able to admit my own white privilege, my complicity with white supremacy, and I am able to work to minimize its destructive force in relationships, to deepen my own self-awareness. I have to cultivate inner grace to become comfortable with being wrong, with being quiet, being farther from the center of focus. This ego strength is also connected to a spiritual sense of wonderment and curiosity. And it's a curiosity that I believe our principles call us to. In his book, The Religious Case Against Belief, James Carse illustrates some important nuances of wonder and distinguishing 3 types of ignorance. He talks about ordinary ignorance is just simply not knowing. We don't know who will win the World Series, or if there will be a World Series, or when we will die. There are just things we don't know and cannot know. Then, the second kind of ignorance is willful ignorance. Willful ignorance is choosing not to know. We may choose not to hear the news of a bad diagnosis. We may choose not to hear news of some of our own bad behavior. We may choose not to admit the verification of global warming. We can close our eyes and refuse to listen to what we don't want to see or hear. And I would argue that many white people do live in willful ignorance. And then there is a third way, higher ignorance, Carse suggests. Higher ignorance is learned curiosity. Learned curiosity about what we don't know. It's the wondering about that fuels scientists, philosophers, yes, theologians and preachers too. This perspective invites us to lead with inquisitive questions, not answers. Only from not knowing can we reach for the understanding we do not yet possess. Higher ignorance exchanges the certainty of right believing in our own rightness, exchanges that for curiosity, mystery. The risks of faith, Carse insists, do not guarantee safe conclusions. Rather, they assure the exhilaration of creativity and new learning. Now, I remember the moment that I was steeped in white privilege when I had lived ignorantly, believing my whole life in my own salvation through wokeness because of my proximity to people of color or because of my UU upbringing. I believed myself to be one of the good white people with really no action or proof to support my claim. Just an arrogant distaste for the true racists out there, and a hatred of any Confederate nostalgia, and a personal history of attending demonstrations and marches on MLK Day or other key moments. But the truth was, racism and white supremacy were living in me too, though I could not see it. And in one memorable moment in my early 20s, that racism was revealed very publicly. It was a horribly painful, completely humiliating experience, which I recommend to everyone. Yes, it was socially isolating. And yes, I was filled with shame. And yes, my ego left my body and dove into the nearest manhole. And I was stupefied by my own racism as a young adult. I was already in my 20s. I should have known better. I had already done the reading. I should have known better. In that moment, I felt every other person was a flower already bloomed. And here I was, still in bud. The beautiful three-dimensional image was hidden, but only to me. It seemed like everyone else could see it. Now, my friends, my classmates, and colleagues did something for me I can never repay my entire life, nor properly thank them for. They took me in. I went on a listening tour. I shut my mouth, finally. I stopped flashing all my woke signals and all my rationalizations, and I just asked how they felt when I had done what I had done. They helped me to see the harm I had caused. They admitted that, yes, I was late to the party, but I could still join the movement. It was similar, as Don Milton said to me earlier this summer when I sheepishly told him after years of stubborn resistance and even resentment that I had finally seen Hamilton and found it breathtaking. Don said to me, "It's okay if you are late, as long as you show up." You remember?
I do.
Well, this is what my friends said to me too that day. For me, on the other side of that shame and humiliation, there was an ocean of grace. All that pain of sudden self-awareness, privilege, and yes, racism. Now, this movement from formation into transformation, well, it did require spending some time in shame and humiliation. And it was akin to what the poet called the helplessness of childhood, of not knowing who I was in this new world anymore. All the things that I thought were just personal about me were actually political about all of us. The pain of listening to the harm I had caused, well, that pain is still in my body's memory. I can still feel it. And I know many of us will do anything to avoid humiliation, shame, and pain. We are all awake to some dynamics in our world, and we are all asleep and unaware of others, each of us. There is no such thing as political correctness. There is only deeper and deeper self-awareness. I say there is no such thing as political correctness. There is only deeper and deeper self-awareness. Whenever you arrive to that radical self-awareness of your own privilege, you are right on time. Whenever you are ready to be curious about how you impact someone else, you are right on time. Whenever you are ready to relinquish your privilege, you are right on time. Whenever you are ready to transform yourself, to make changes, to admit you are wrong, to admit, yes, you have more to learn, I will be here for you. We will all be here because that's what it is to be in community. We will be ready to walk with you through some pain, through some shame, and return to grace. Maybe you are 15. Maybe you are 50. Maybe you are 90. You are not too late to come to some fresh understanding of yourself and relationship to the world. This is what our Unitarian Universalist faith teaches us, that we are lifelong learners, that we are doing this spiritual work our entire lives. What a blessing to be curious. The best thing we can do is to be brave in relationship to one another, to cultivate inner grace, strengthening our resilience for conflict, to being wrong. And I'm going to be wrong too again. It's okay. We can make brave space where people are able to name the harm in the room as it's happening. This is a new way of being. To risk the pain of shame in fully hearing and understanding how we may have harmed or hurt someone. To choose learned curiosity about someone else's life and our relationship to it. To assume we have more to learn and to welcome that learning with a wide open heart. The most exciting thing about this pandemic freedom summer has been, for me, the sheer number of protesters, young and old, who are coming out, showing up, marching, proclaiming Black Lives Matter. Yes, Black lives have always mattered. Yes, in some ways, this is all 400 years, 8 minutes and 20 seconds too late. And yet, for those of you who are showing up for justice for the very first time, you are right on time. Whenever you get here, we're just glad you're here. The time is right, because John Lewis reminded us all this week in his posthumous, beautiful New York Times letter to America. He left us with our marching orders for you and for me now, in this time. He said, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. John Lewis told us, when historians pick up their pens to write the story of the 21st century, let them say it was your generation who laid down the heavy burdens of hate at last, and that peace finally triumphed over violence, aggression, and war. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide. Amen. May it be so.
Amen. So great to be back with all of you. Our final hymn this morning is another really rockin' one. It's When the Spirit Says Do. It's got a part about dancing. You should just do your thing. You should just do your thing. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've got to sing, oh Lord. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you've got to dance, oh Lord. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout, oh Lord. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You've got to do when the Spirit says, Spirit says do.
Thank you. Our spiritual takeaway this morning is for you to work, do that soul work of releasing resentment for what you have not been awake to, and risk with humility that though you may feel you are late to deep self-awareness, you are actually right on time. So with that, please go in peace, go in love, keep doing that soul work of deeper learning about yourself, deeper understanding of others. Go with love. Amen. Blessed be.
I can change the world with my own two hands, make it a better place with my own two hands, make it a kinder place with my own two hands, with my own two hands.
I can make peace on earth with my own two hands. I can clean up the earth with my own two hands. I can reach out to you with my own two hands, with my own two hands. wide and wonderful. Have you ever felt the sunshine so brilliantly raining down over you and me? Have you ever wanted more? Wanted more? You've got to keep your mind wide open. All the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open. Believe in what you see. Think of all the days you've wasted, worrying, wondering, hopelessly hoping. Think of all the time ahead. Don't hesitate, contemplate. No, it's not too late. Have you ever wanted more? Don't you know there's so much more? You've got to keep your mind wide open. All the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open. Believe in what you see. Tomorrow's horizons full of surprises. Don't let them take your dreams away. You've got to keep your mind wide open. All the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open. Believe in what you see. You've got to keep your mind wide open. All the possibilities. You've got to live with your eyes open. Believe in what you see. Your mind wide open. Believe in what you see. Your eyes open. Believe in what you see.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building. We're building a new way. Yeah, I heard it. We're building us a new way. Yeah, I heard it on the front line. That we're building us a new way.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. 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 Ooh, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Yeah, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.